Hi, I'm Sandy. I'm representing Rocket Matter, and I'm here to speak about Kanban boards for lawyers.
Sandy, thanks for being with me. I can never decide how to say Kanban, Kanban. I'm sure there's a right way to do it. I think you probably did it the right way. But you know, as much as I love Kanban boards, I have no idea how to say it. But I appreciate you talking to me about, y'all integrating that into the Rocket Matter platform. I'm excited to see what all it does.
And honestly, I do believe it's Kanban, but I just sometimes feel a little too pretentious saying it that way. So it just flows better to say Kanban, but I do think that it's Kanban.
I come
That
from a long line of hillbillies, and so we say things the wrong way all the time. I definitely say Kanban. So
just a brief introduction. What is Kanban boards? What are Kanban boards? It's essentially just it's a method of organization, right? So it's not anything
hmm
that's necessarily specific to lawyers. And this method of organization has kind of taken every industry by storm.
hmm
I'm in the sales department. I use a Kanban board for the sales cycle. I used to work in a customer support department. We use the Kanban boards there, and they're highly used by engineers, but they have a very unique utility for lawyers.
hmm
So a little bit of background on the Kanban. Um, it translates to billboard or signboard, right? It's a system of organization developed by Toyota engineer Taichi Ono, all
Okay.
right? Uh, and it was developed to help Toyota streamline production, organize complex manufacturing tasks, and minimize under and overstocking of inventory. And essentially, that method of organization has now been adopted in nearly every vertical, right?
Right, right. This is
Right.
definitely how we manage our projects. We don't use Gantt charts anymore. We certainly don't just use to-do lists. We use the Kanban boards to take things from. I've heard them called very different things at times, but a lot of times I call them swim lanes
Yep.
just
That's
columns
called.
or whatever. Yeah.
So you don't need Rocket Matter to utilize this um, method of organization.
hmm
I mean, you can go ahead and get your whiteboard and, draw some columns in there and name your columns like the phases and get
hmm
some sticky notes and write down the projects and have a nice visual on the board. But
hmm
this is 2023 and doing everything at this point should be paperless. So
Certainly
we
from our
have this
perspective. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we have this built into Rocket Matter. And let me just kind of go back here and go over just the benefits of using the Kanban board.
hmm
And then I'll do a live demonstration of how Rocket Matter not only built it into the software, but how we sort of revolutionized it as well and made it our own.
Okay.
So streamline workflows, right? So many times a law firm, if they have a particular practice type, let's say family law, I mean, nearly every family law case that will come in will fall somewhere in the litigation process, prepare initial filings, temporary relief,
hmm
discovery phase, pre-trial phase, trial phase, right?
hmm
So you're able to kind of find the common denominators between all of your cases and create that phase workflow. Um,
And so we're saying that you use the Kanban board to work maybe your cases from left to right on that digital whiteboard, but we would draw those swim lanes based on the phases that would be common through some of our cases.
yeah. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go ahead and I want to show you what it looks like. And I think it would. provide a better, just a visual to
Okay.
what I'm, to the benefits that it brings.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, that that is a familiar scene for people that use Kanban boards, though.
Yeah. Right. And just like before we even like hop in, I mean, does that look pretty or what?
It looks, it does to me. It feels organized. It feels, I know there's a lot of things on there, but frankly, that's relaxing to me because I think, oh, that's where everything is, and I can take a 30,000 foot view and see, well, what do I have in trial? What do I have in pretrial discovery? What do I have in mediation?
And I remember when this feature was first released and demoed internally. I was just looking at, the projector and I was just like, this is like eye candy. I mean,
It is.
I completely fell in love with this. I mean, I've been working for attorneys since I was about, 14 years old. And it's like everything is black, white, gray, and manila colored. And then filing cabinets, or I don't even know what color you would consider that, like top. And then like that's really like, all you see all day.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw this, it really drew me in. I mean, it's just like eye candy. It's pleasant to look at. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what? Some things people I feel like don't consider is eye fatigue. Like
Oh
when you're
yeah.
looking at the software like all day, and if it's like Excel-y, like sometimes you don't even realize how that impacts your energy levels, your motivation levels.
Uh-huh.
And just seeing this for the first time, especially in a software that I loved, it was just so refreshing. And me personally, I kind of made it like a mission to learn more about this. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually kind of funny. I was in the customer support department, and people would call in and they'd be like, "Hey, I forgot to add something to an invoice. How do I delete it and regenerate it?" So I would show them how to do that, and then I'd be like, "Hey, have you met my friend Kanban board?" And I would say, would you like to, set one up? And it's actually kind of funny. So my colleagues, they would get mad at me because I would be off the phones because I was just scheduling meetings
Mm-hmm.
to uh, do the configurations. But management wasn't too unpleased with it.
Right.
And fast forward to today, this was about like 3 years ago. I have I have set this up, different Kanban configurations for dozens of different practice types.
Mm-hmm.
And I have learned so much about how to make this truly efficient. So, for example, I recently closed a deal with an attorney that does contract work.
Mm-hmm.
And for my clients specifically, I always offer complimentary Kanban configuration beyond the sale.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, please just wait for me. Like, wait for me. Don't jump ahead. Wait for me. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
And I actually met with them 2 days ago. They didn't wait for me. And when I looked at what they created, it was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I've got an auto accident board, a criminal board, estate planning board, family board, project
Mm-hmm.
management board. They did contracts. They had like 15 different types, 15
Right.
different boards, right? They just added a type for every single type of contract that they do. But
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, how, when you have to go to different boards to see your matters,
Mm-hmm.
how is that actually helping you?
Right.
Right? The
Right.
whole point is to be able to see as many of your cases in one view. So what I was able to do when, after deleting everything that they had done,
Mm-hmm.
so after we talked it through, right? And I was able to get this attorney to agree or visualize that, at least for the contract side
Mm-hmm.
of his practice, that they all go through some similar phases.
Right.
Doesn't matter what type of contract it is. So a contract is new, it comes in, so we've
Mm-hmm.
got the new contract. this attorney needs to either draft the contract or they need to review the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a review draft phase. Then there's always the phase of them needing to either they're waiting on the client for something or right. So the client
Mm-hmm.
needs to provide something, got
Yep.
waiting on client. A lot of times there'll be another attorney that's involved, which is separate than, it should. There was one of the things that we had discussed whether we should just have one phase of waiting on another party.
Third party,
But then we
right?
decided that it's useful to know from the Kanban bird's eye view whether you're waiting on your client or you're waiting on a different party, which is generally the attorney.
Right.
And then, once we're no longer waiting and once it's been, and it can go back. So it can go back from waiting on client back to review draft,
Uh-huh.
from waiting on attorney review draft. But once the contract is completed, right now we need our final approval. And again, we had that discussion of whether it's worthwhile to have it separate.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided that it was. And some things to consider is, for example, the actual view. So if you're looking at this board, let me get this back.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I
If
love
you're look,
this planning document. I think people a lot
oh,
of times just they go into that Kanban board and they're like, okay, well, what can I play with? Planning it
let
out,
me keep
yeah,
let me keep it going for you. I mean, if you like this, wait till you see, wait till you see what I got.
yeah,
So something that I learned from, and it took some time, like, for anybody, any attorney out there who is, looking to set this up, um, there's not a lot of information out there, right?
mm-hmm.
So, it does take experience, it does take time. Feel free to reach out to me. I love doing this. I'd love to do complimentary Kanban, consultations.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found was if you just go in and you start building these boards and start building these templates, it creates a mess. So what I
Right.
always recommend, what I always suggest, what I beg is please do it all in Microsoft Word. Do it all,
Okay.
plan everything out where you can see it on one document. And once it looks good, you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is for a family law firm. You've got divorce case type.
Mm-hmm.
You got prepare initial filings, temporary relief, discovery, and then you've got certain tasks,
Right.
right, that are specific to this status. And then you could even set due dates that are based on milestones. But here's like what it looks like. So that was it took about 30 to 45 minutes or to get to that previous firm planning for the contracts, just kind of talking it through and
Yep.
helping the attorney visualize their practice. But that's just the beginning. Like this is completed. So this is
Mm-hmm.
one board. You've got a modification, like modification of alimony, something like that, separate
Mm-hmm.
board, right? So this is what it would look like once it's fully completed. But I always
Yep.
suggest that you come in here and do that. Once this is fully completed, I mean, there's a few steps, but you'll have one of the most robust systems of project management that any law firm could possibly have. Truly, I can't think of anything that could really one up having not only Kanban boards but having them automated with workflow templates. But before we get there, I'm going to take a
Right.
step back before I digress too far. Let's go back to the Kanban view. Very simply, what can you see here? You can see this is family law types. You can see the different phases. You can
Mm-hmm.
see that you have a little square for each matter.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the primary attorney. So these are the initials of the primary attorney. And we also have, you can upload a headshot if you want to see your face there too. Take, full credit for that case. You can see the name of the client. You can see the name of the matter. You can see how many matters you have in each swim lane just from like a quick view.
Okay.
And then you have it color coded. So when you're setting up the Kanban board, you can set the recommended amount of days that that a certain matter should be in a status.
Mm-hmm.
So we have here for 30 days. It's been here for 6. It's green. It's been here for 8. It's green. We've had this for 15 days. It's been here for 14. It's almost due. It's yellow. And anything over is red. So just right away, without even diving in, just from the color codedness, you can see the health of your
Mm-hmm.
firm, the health of
Mm-hmm.
your matters. If you're seeing red all over the place, it means that you're behind, right? Or maybe
Mm-hmm.
you have to adjust your recommended amount of days.
Right, right. I mean, it gives you information one way or the other. You're behind, or yeah, we just tweak this system, which is part of the power of it too. Is knowing or having the ability to adjust the project management system that you've already created. Kind of going back to the documents that you have. If you keep those documents, and then we can just adjust those. So after the first time you make it, you can just adjust them and use them for something slightly different and iterate and make it a little bit better and a little bit better.
And let me be frank, the chances of you getting it right the first time are like 1%. All right. The only way you're gonna get it right is through use. You have
Mm-hmm.
to use it in real time. You have to start putting your real cases in there. And that's when and especially with the matter templates, like the tasks that I showed you,
Mm-hmm.
like in use, you'll be like, second, this task should actually be here. We should add a task here. We should add a column. So like
Mm-hmm.
don't fret. Like don't like I tell people to like I'm giving you the firm planning document, but don't spend too much time on it. Get something working, get something complete. Let's throw it up because the only way you're going to get it right is actually using it. So, for all you perfectionists out there, okay, like, what I mean, if you tried to get it perfect, you're just gonna spend way too much time
Right.
because the only way to get it perfect is to use it.
Right. Right.
So again, just from a bird's eye, one thing also that you can see pretty clearly without even diving into the data, bottlenecks. Like, oof, like look at this. I've got like
Mm-hmm.
out of all my cases, my pretrial discovery cases are it seems like there's a bottleneck here. It's getting stuck here. And it's like, that can give you some business intelligence, just very quick business intelligence. Like, hey, should we take a look at our pretrial discovery process? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is there maybe a technology that we can incorporate to speed up the to get the documents from opposing counsel? Lecture, we have that. Maybe that's going to be another webinar. But yeah, so basically, bottlenecks. You can just see the bottlenecks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay. And all right. So this is from just a very basic Kanban view,
Right.
right? Where one matter, and this is so satisfying. Like I wish that all you lawyers out there, like I want this for you. Like when you get to do this, like it is just such a satisfying moment. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just like seeing drag from one to the next is extremely satisfying. And also knowing that, like, boom, my case is moving forward. I just completed all the tasks. Everything is good. I'm a great lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What you see here is automation.
Mm-hmm.
So taking a step back, you don't have to automate your Kanban. It's very simple to just put the Kanban together
Mm-hmm.
where one matter, when it moves into the next status, that's it, right? But you can automate your Kanban board. So I have an automation that's specific to family pretrial discovery status. So when I move a matter into this swim lane,
Mm-hmm.
I get a pop up. Okay. So I've got all of these tasks. I've got uh related contacts, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I just applied all of those tasks. And what's really incredible is when you're creating these matter templates, like this is the matter template feature, and this is moving on to how we revolutionized the Kanban board for lawyers, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
well before we had the Kanban board, we had matter templates. What that
Mm-hmm.
means is you go into a matter and you click add new template to matter. You've got your list of templates,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can enter in the primary attorney and you could simply apply that template. So there's kind of like just a bit of a manual process. And we just added a bunch of deadlines, right?
Okay. So we
Now,
created, did we create tasks with that, or is it just deadlines? I guess
that
that it has
was
to be,
that,
right?
yeah, that template was just deadlines, but
Okay.
you can. So now with the Kanban board, so these are all my templates. I I divide templates into two types:
Mm-hmm.
floaters and automated templates.
Okay.
Floaters are ones that you can just apply, and it's actually very important distinction. Even though it's a separate feature from the Kanban board,
Uh-huh.
it actually does matter. Floaters and automation. For example, let's say you're a bankruptcy firm, right? And nearly all bankruptcies, right? They go through even, state to state, even jurisdiction to jurisdiction. They'll go through a similar litigation workflow.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on the jurisdiction, there's different tasks and different things that you have to do.
Right.
So, what are you going to do? If you want to do Kanban for bankruptcy, you have to make a decision. Do I want one bankruptcy board because all of the cases go through the same phases?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I want separate bankruptcy boards for all the different jurisdictions? So here's the pros and cons. Pro, I'm a all-in-oneist. I'm a consolidator.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great to just have one bankruptcy board. And what you would do is you wouldn't automate it, right? So what you won't automate it where it goes from one when you move it to the next status where that template just pops up prompting you to enter it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't automate it. What you do is you create separate templates for the different jurisdictions. So you
Mm-hmm.
have one bankruptcy board that's not automated, and then depending on the the jurisdiction, you'll just manually apply the correct template.
Okay. Because I
I
would
think
have the
that's
same,
still
I would have the same basic um, swim lanes bringing my case from zero to done in any bankruptcy case, but in the different phases, I might have slightly different tasks that I have to do in order to get myself to the next phase.
correct.
Okay.
And the con, the con is it's an extra step. So
Right.
for example, most of my boards are automated, but I'll go to like an unautomated board. So let's say, just pretend this is a bankruptcy board, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I move the case from one status to the next, nothing happens, but it is going into the next status. So what I would do is I would go into the actual matter and then I would click add new template to matter and then select the specific matter template that has to do with that jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the con is just that extra step that you have to take versus if you have a fully automated board. So let's say you have, I mean, if you're only doing bankruptcy primarily in two different jurisdictions, then perhaps it is beneficial for you to create those two separate Kanban boards.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can have it automated where when one case moves into the next status, you just get that pop up, saving you that extra step of having to remember to go in and apply that template because
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty difficult to get attorneys to really embrace tasks,
Right.
and
Yes.
just like they'll do events. They're pretty good with events, putting things on their calendar, but
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to attorney to embrace making sure that they have tasks. Um, so by getting it fully automated, you just kind of ensure that the tasks will always be populated. So those are the pros and cons to creating separate boards or creating one board. And I kind of just um, went on a little rant there. So maybe if you can kind of like summarize,
No, no, I think
your
that's absolutely right. I think the thing I think of with the Kanban boards is how they exist in relationship to each other. And I think what you're getting at is it's kind of however you want it to. There are benefits and detriments to each type of setup that you have, but you can have kind of a 50,000 foot view Kanban board that has a little bit more automation to it and can move things through, but you might have to be more thoughtful about it or something. What this makes me think of though is have you run into a scenario? And I think I know the answer to the question. Have you run into a scenario where you haven't been able to set up an attorney on a Kanban board? Because I think that attorneys
no.
watching this go, yeah, that's great for bankruptcy attorneys, but I do something that is bespoke and all of my cases are different. Every contract case that comes in is very different. Is it though?
Okay. Yeah. So I I've heard that plenty of times,
Right.
right? You'll hear that, especially, I'll like I come across a lot of solo attorneys that might be, come from like a smaller town and they've got expertise in like every single
Yep.
field,
General
meaning like they're
practice. Yep.
the neighborhood attorney, right? So a lot of times none of their cases will go through the same workflow. And the last thing you want to do is create 20 different Kanban boards.
Right.
So what I do for that is um, I refer them to that first picture that I showed you, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To do
Right.
in progress, waiting on client, waiting on other, on hold,
Mm-hmm.
completed. You can't tell me that none of your cases will go through that. Like they will. So
Right.
like you can have set up like this, like something similar to this, right? Project
Mm-hmm.
management in general. So I'm very confident in that answer is like I I can't think of any scenario in any industry, in any professional industry where a Kanban board wouldn't be useful in one way or another.
Right.
It
Right.
might be not, you would just have a different utility, right? Like, so you can see this would be more of like a task manager,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you know that these cases you have something you need to do. These cases you're waiting on the client. Whereas for like a family or bankruptcy, it's not more of a task manager, it's more of like an actual case manager where it's like, okay, I've got 10 cases in pretrial discovery, I've got 2 cases in mediation.
Mm-hmm.
And just to, I wanted to mention something before and I totally forgot and I remembered this configuration, and I've seen it in play, is incredible for real estate attorneys.
Mm.
Incredible real estate attorneys. For example, real estate attorneys that do purchase and acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those contracts have like I used to actually work for commercial real estate broker, and one of my jobs was combing through each contract, pulling out the deadlines and the
Mm-hmm.
dates and the due dates. So this this feature with the recommended amount of days. So like escrow, generally like 3 days. They'll actually phase out the purchase and sale uh contract into phases. So like
Mm-hmm.
escrow, title, appraisal, inspection, second deposit.
Right.
Sorry, I totally digress, but I wanted to mention that before. And evictions. Okay, like I evictions are like a lot of firms that handle evictions, especially for HOAs or like,
Mm-hmm.
that have like these huge portfolios, super, super high volume. Kanban board total game changer for evictions. Because again, first you have to, depending on the state, first you have to give a 3 day notice or a 30-day notice. They can have that clock ticking and they'll see, okay, this one's yellow, time just from a bird's eye, time to now issue the 3 day and put it into the next status.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just I kind of forgot about that before, but it's extremely useful and it kind of ties into what you were saying is like where like when would this not be useful? And I really can't answer that question.
Right. I personally tell people exactly what you're saying of do have a inbox to do, to do, doing, done. That's the simplest form. And then you can put your tasks in. And just to
Exactly.
kind of describe this a little bit better or a little bit more, um, these cards, and I always think of them as cards. I think they're generally called cards because they're, the way I first ran into a Kanban board was having sticky notes on a big whiteboard. I had a giant whiteboard in my office and just sticky notes going across. But these cards, you can drill down into them and get to the case, the highlighted case, plaintiff v. defendant there, and you can get into that. But as we move across, as we automate something, it's putting this template on there, and the template, and this is what you're saying, where Rocket Matter is honestly different from some others. The template isn't just a task template. Yes, it can put
No,
automated tasks, but it can automate a lot of things because it's using Rocket Matter's kind of predecessor in a sense of those templates to supercharge those templates, to put deadlines, to change people that are associated with it, to I assume to put, invoices if we need to, but just templatizing all of that stuff, but making that into phases of the case.
and I want to blow you away real quick. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, if you recall, the first time we met, we discussed the business intelligence tool.
Yep,
And for those that didn't tune into part one, please tune into part one, business intelligence tool. It's incredible as well.
it is.
Essentially, the business intelligence tool allows you to build your own reports. Um, just a quick recap. We give you a bunch of fields that you can use, but then it becomes infinite because every time you create a custom field, every time you create a tag, every time you create a related contact, it becomes a field you can use in the business intelligence tool.
Hmm.
Now, something we didn't go over is all of the project management or the Kanban fields are now in the business intelligence tool as well. So let's say, for example, all right, are you ready for this? So let's say, for example, at the contact level, right? Maybe I am tracking the gender of the contact,
Hmm.
right? I want to see, I want to see how many um, women I represent in family matter cases versus men that I represent or other, right?
Hmm.
So because I'm tracking this at the contact level, and because I have this matter on the Kanban board, I can go into the business intelligence tool and I can just like have the time of my life. Let me demo. Okay. I mean, I don't know if like I can't be the only one that gets this excited about this. Okay. Like
No, I
whoever's
think,
watching,
yeah, I
like, are
think
you
what's
excited for
amazing.
this?
I am, but I get accused. I get told to stop nerding out a lot of times. But that's the whole
No,
point
never.
of this is, that we're going into a deep dive here. What While you're kind of loading this up, the amazing part or the thing that sets Rocket Matters business intelligence tools apart from some of the others, their reporting tools, and the reason it's actually, called business intelligence is because it's high caliber reporting, and you can grab any, you can create and grab any one of the fields. So when you create a field, this is unlike some of the others that are out there. When you create a field, you can report against it.
Yeah. And Zach, please don't ever stop nerding out.
Try not to. I'll keep having you on so we can
Okay.
continue.
All right. So let's say, for example, I'm just interested. I mean, like I just want to know like what
Mm-hmm.
what how many like what's the difference between how many wives do I represent versus husbands
Mm-hmm.
in divorce matter, right? So I'm going to come in here. I've got different types of reports. This is going to be a matters report, right? We don't need an activities. I'm doing a matters report. And let's do status. So I want to see open and closed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do project management area. And then let's do my custom field. Let me actually refresh this data.
Mm-hmm.
And let me do um, my contact custom field. I group it here. Contact custom field gender,
Mm-hmm.
project management area. All right. Now let's do month, maybe year. Let's do year. Create a year. Let's do client name. Do matter name. Let's do project management area. Let's do project management status just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I could just like all of my custom fields. I mean, shoot, date of birth,
Right.
should I send them a Christmas card? Like who was the originator,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who's the primary attorney? I mean, gosh, like
Yeah,
what is
you get
what
into
is the
that.
blood alcohol content?
But you get into that primary attorney, the originator, things like that. Now you're starting to get into, who is bringing in cases, who is moving cases through, you can really, really get some good information out of the data that you have.
So check this out. So now I'm gonna do project management area. Okay, so if I just run this report, run,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've got closed, completed, open, but check this out. If I add status as a column as well, and I do status count,
Mm-hmm.
boom, I've got 400. I mean, this is my demo account. I've got
Right. Right.
just from a high level, boom, 431 cases, four completed, four closed. Now let's drill in. What do you think is going to be the next thing that I see once I drill in into open?
Yeah. So project management area.
Here's all my Kanban boards that I created, right? Boom,
Mm-hmm.
next level. Because I have count here, I've got 75 open auto accident cases, 36 open criminal cases, 24 open family cases. So what was my question? How many cases do I have female versus male,
Mm-hmm.
right? Female, male, 11, 3. And then if I drill in further, so view more is like kind
Mm-hmm.
of like a fail safe. That means that in all of those contact records, I didn't indicate the gender.
Okay.
So this is like in any time that you're using any type of group for the custom field, that's a fail safe. We are focusing on Kanban, but basically this report, these numbers are pulled from the Kanban because I'm filtering it by the project management area. And then once I click on it, boom, I've got open status, project management area,
Mm-hmm.
project management status, what status, and the matter name, the client name. I can open up the matter from here. I mean, I mean it. Like I really like, I wanted to focus on just Kanban in general for attorneys, but truly with Rocket Matter, I mean, this is like, I think the absolute apex of project management and business intelligence for attorneys. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, it should be.
I think that's probably a good place for us to leave off. It's a good place for us to kind of cap off with because I think the project management, like you said earlier, is about business intelligence. It's about knowing where your information is, and that's what this type of project management, this Kanban style project management, can do. Sandy, is there anything we need to get to before we kind of wrap this one up?
Um, no, just if anybody's interested in a free consultation for Kanban, I mean, it's a two-way street. I learn a lot too. So that's why I'm happy to do it on a complimentary basis. Feel free to reach out. I promise not to try and sell you too hard on Rocket Matter.
Well, if you're looking at it, Rocket Matter does some pretty good stuff there. But yeah, so if somebody wants to, check out Rocket Matter on a broad sense, get a demo, get a free Kanban consultation, which is huge, they can go to rocketmatter.com and schedule a demo. Looks like it's right there. So
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely. You can schedule a demo, um, or you can give us a call at 866-710-1845 and ask for Sandy.
fantastic, fantastic. Well, Sandy, once again, thank you very much for showing me around. I know, like you said, I nerd out on this stuff, but I'm sure that other people that are in the same business do as well. So thank you.
It's a pleasure always.